Welcome to the Campbell Museums. A mundane object, like battery, has many stories it can tell. In this video, I explored just a few of these stories. Think of this video as the abridged history behind batteries. This video is part of our What's in the Box series, where I pull a box from storage and see what we find inside. So check out our box number 3 playlist for more. Please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to show us some love. You can also support the Campbell Museums by becoming a member. The link to our website is in the description below. Batteries have evolved drastically over the last 200 years. From Volta's voltaic pile battery in 1800 to lead-acid batteries in 1859 to dry cell batteries in the late 1880s to lithium-ion batteries in the 1990s, batteries have allowed us to create and harness energy. There are many types of batteries, some wet and some dry, like our object, and like the majority of batteries used today. Different materials such as zinc, carbon, lead, lithium, and nickel are all used to trigger chemical reactions, but what all batteries have in common is converting chemical energy into electrical energy. I will link to some sources for the science behind batteries, but today we will explore how the invention of the battery fundamentally reshaped society. In the beginning, batteries and electricity were just for the scientists. Prior to the 1800s, electricity was left to nature, but the invention of the battery in 1800 by Alessandro Volta was the first major step in harnessing this great power by allowing for a continuous current of electricity for experimentation. Building off of the discovery of the voltaic pile, other scientists furthered our understanding of energy. One example is Michael Faraday, who used a voltaic pile to perform experiments that led to the invention of generators and discovering quantitative laws of electrochemistry. Well, electrochemistry deals with the interaction between electricity and chemical change. Have you ever seen rust? Rust is an electrochemical reaction. Batteries are an example of a practical use of electrochemical processes. The 1800s was full of improvements in battery technology, and by the end of that century, batteries were put to use outside the science lab. The first major use of batteries was to power the telegraph, and later, telephone systems. Thanks to the battery and subsequent discoveries around electricity, the telegraph was invented and in use by the 1840s. This allowed people to communicate electronically for the first time. It was the first time in history that communication occurred without the necessity of physical transportation. It was quite disruptive. In 1861, the expanded ability to send telegrams from coast to coast killed the Pony Express. Then, in 1877, the telegraph gave way to the telephone, which allowed for real-time, voice-to-voice exchange of information. Before the phone, if you wanted to talk to a loved one or discuss important business matters, you would have to send a calling card to arrange a time to visit, write a letter, or send a short telegram message. Now, you could speak directly with someone, even if you were thousands of miles apart. Well, the telegraph was widely used starting in the 1840s, and the telephone was gaining steam in the 1880s, but having electric power in your home? Well, that wasn't even possible until the 1880s, and even so, by 1925, only half of all homes in the US had electric power, so batteries were essential. Our object is a dry cell battery that was installed in 1939 for use with a telephone. In 1886, dry cells were developed and rapidly replaced wet cell batteries. Rather than using a wet electrolyte solution, as the earlier batteries did, which could evaporate or leak, the dry cell used a paste electrolyte. This was a wonderful advance in battery technology because it allowed the battery to be used in any orientation and made them more portable. The lithium and alkaline batteries that you find today are modern forms of dry cell batteries. The next big use for batteries was in transportation, both electric and gasoline. While inventors were experimenting with electric vehicles in the 1830s and 1840s, the first electric vehicle that could move a person was seen on the streets of Paris in 1881, an electric tricycle. During the 1880s and 1890s in Europe, more electric vehicles and rail cars were invented and produced. The US began to catch on in the 1890s. Early electric vehicles had a number of advantages over their steam and gasoline competitors. Electric cars did not drive as far, but they did not have the vibration, smell, pollution, or noise associated with gasoline cars. The cars were also preferred because they did not require using a hand crank to start the engine the way that gasoline cars did. By the start of the 1900s in the United States, things were looking good for the electric vehicle industry. There were more electric vehicles than gasoline vehicles in use. But soon, the electric car began to lose its position in the automobile market. Roads got better, so cars needed greater range than electric could cover. Newly discovered oil reserves made gasoline more affordable, and the invention of the electric starter in 1912, thanks to a battery, eliminated the need of a hand crank in gasoline cars. Basically, the battery is key not just to electric vehicles, but also to gasoline vehicles, allowing gasoline cars to outcompete the electric car industry for most of the 20th century. Our roads, the suburbs, and our poor air quality all take root in using a battery to start our gasoline engines. Batteries are also the secret behind portable electronics such as flashlights, portable radios, and watches that you don't have to manually wind. Plus, more modern tech like calculators, pacemakers, cell phones, and laptops are all made possible thanks to improvements in the size, weight, efficiency, and portability of batteries. We all know the Energizer Bunny. Well, Energizer is an alkaline battery. In fact, Energizer, back when it was called Eveready Battery Company, invented a long-lasting alkaline battery in the 1950s. Today, alkaline batteries are the most commonly used disposable battery. As a side note, remember our video on microphones and radio broadcasting? Well, Energizer and Eveready have a connection to radio. The Eveready Hour, paid for by the company, was the first commercially sponsored variety program in the history of radio broadcasting and premiered December 4th, 1923. I just love when I find connections like this between my artifacts. Okay, back to batteries. During the 1960s through the early 1990s, due to concerns over reliance on foreign oil, gasoline shortages, and air pollution, scientists and engineers, with support from the federal government, worked on developing electric and hybrid vehicle technology.
The steering's a new task, Joe. It's really responsive now. I guess I got pretty used to a quiet steering, and this thing really turns.
Roger, Dave. We don't want it to be too easy for you.
In 1971, NASA helped raise the profile of the electric vehicle when its electric lunar rover became the first manned vehicle to drive on the moon. Batteries were key to this research since batteries were the main hurdle. Electric vehicles during this era had limited performance, usually topping at speeds of 45 miles per hour with an average range of 40 miles before needing a recharge. The next big jump in battery tech was in the 1990s when lithium batteries came to market. Most importantly, the lithium-ion battery. In fact, the lithium-ion battery has reshaped our society so much that the scientists who discovered it won a Nobel Prize in 2019. Without lithium-ion, you would not have your Nintendo Switch, cordless power tools, or fitness tracker, and of course, no electric car. Lithium-ion batteries allowed electric cars to reach higher speed and cover more distance per charge. In 2008, Tesla Motors released the Tesla Roadster, which was the first viable all-electric car to use lithium-ion battery cells. It could get a little over 200 miles per charge, a great improvement over the 40 to 60 miles from previous decades. Today, electric cars are becoming more and more widespread, and so is the infrastructure to charge them, though gasoline still has electric beat for long-distance drives. I have been singing nothing but praise at the battery, but batteries do carry an important downside. They create a lot of waste. Batteries in general contain a number of heavy metals and toxic chemicals, and disposing of them by the same process as regular waste contaminates soil and water. Unfortunately, most people do not properly dispose of their batteries, and they end up in landfills. Fortunately, many battery types are recyclable, so please dispose of your batteries properly. There is a balance to be found between the pollution batteries create and the pollution they can prevent. When fossil fuels are burned for power, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which contributes to global warming and climate change. So alternative energy sources such as solar power and wind power, plus the batteries to store that power, are key to fighting climate change. Over the past 200 years, batteries have resulted in dramatic societal changes. As we continue to advance battery technology to improve things like energy storage duration, recharge speed, weight, and the use of less toxic materials, we will see even more significant changes. Imagine powering your home with renewable energy, even on days when there is no sun or wind, because batteries can store the surplus electricity. Imagine a structural battery, which basically means the object is the battery. Structural batteries don't look like the cubes or cylinders that we are accustomed to. They look like an airplane wing, a car body, or a phone case. Quite a journey from our dry cell battery that was once used to power a phone. Mundane objects can contain big stories, and this battery had a lot to say. What other stories might it tell? Thanks for watching, and please consider supporting us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and becoming a member of the Campbell Museums.